Hi everybody, it's Sarah Cray with Let's Make Art, and we do watercolor. I paint a new tutorial every week, and this week we are doing Purple Sky.
Ooh, wow.
And this is my husband, Michael.
Hello everyone.
I'm so glad he's filming this because purple is one of his favorite colors. And I would actually say this is probably his favorite color, this type of purple.
That kind of purple is exactly it. Mixed with that blue.
So good. Okay, so we are going to do this project in 4 steps. So the very first step is we are going to do an even wash, purple even wash across. And also I just want to point out that this is a lot darker than the printed thing, and that's on purpose. This is like an almost exact replica of the print. This I lightened up so you guys can see the trees in the steps. So just so you know, this is what I will be trying to go for if you're at all confused. Okay. So we're going to do this in 4 steps. So the first thing we're going to do is a purple wash. Second step, we're going to put in the tree trunks. Third step, we are going to do the leaves or shrubbery or whatever that's called. You know what I'm saying.
Those look like gymnosperm trees, so I would say that those are needles.
Okay, needles. And then the 4th step would just be removing the tape because I want to try and get a clean edge if we can. So if you have painter's tape, go ahead and grab that. If you don't have painter's tape, grab some washi tape. That also works great. You can try and use Scotch tape, and just be careful it could tear your paper. And sometimes what I do when I don't have like the exact tape I want to use, but I have some tape, is I'll put it like on my shirt to get it kind of fuzzy, so then it's not as sticky and won't rip my paper when I peel it off. We are using 3 paintbrushes today.
That, I think, is the first for me.
Yes, for you. Yeah,
Wow.
I think we might have in one other tutorial. But anyways, we have our standard round 6 and our round 2, our Canon and Brock. And then we have our Fan 4, which is the bonus item if you are a subscriber for our May box. You get this little Fan 4 brush.
That looks like a Tilda to me.
What an excellent name.
Isn't that lady's name Tilda Swinton? She's like the evil chick on Narnia.
I don't know.
I just saw a post about her. She can trace her genealogy back to the Middle Ages.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. So those are my 3 brushes, and I'm using 4 colors. So the colors I'm using are magenta. Our second color is deep blue. Our third color is dandelion yellow. And our 4th color is berry blue. And berry blue and deep blue look fairly similar. Berry blue has slightly more purple undertones. It mix better with the magenta, but they do look fairly similar. And we are going to do our oath and then our warm-ups and then paint. So I'll leave that there, and if you can raise your right hand and repeat after me. I promise to be kind to myself.
I promise to be kind to myself.
I promise not to compare my work.
And I promise not to compare my work.
And I promise to have fun.
And I promise to have fun.
Michael's doing it too.
I do it
His
with
is
2
more
thumbs.
like. Okay, so I'm going to go over 3 different warm-ups in this tutorial. So the first one I want to show you guys is we're going to try and get an even wash on this paper. But with a round brush, that's kind of difficult to do. So what I learned is you can use, is that okay?
You're hitting your mic.
Oh, sorry about that. You can use a paper towel to do an even wash, but I just want you to be careful when you do this because the paper towel obviously is going to soak up a lot of color. So I get mine wet, like damp, and then I'm going to pick up some color. Look how fast that is.
That is an even wash.
And you can go this way.
Dang.
I kind of go back and forth. Look at that. Ba-bam. So much quicker than using a round 6. So you can use that way, or if you have a sea sponge from our February box, that works excellent for an even wash, or even like a kitchen sponge. So I just wanted to show you guys that because that's how I'm going to do the wash. Or you guys can use your round 6 if you like the blooms that are going to appear by using the round. Up to you. And then I want to focus on values. So this is a light value here. And a value is all about the lightness and darkness of a color. So this is a light value because I used a lot of water. If I were to just pick up paint and rub that, it's going to be a darker value. Now, I do want you to be careful with this paper towel technique though, that if you do it too dry and if you rub too much, it's gonna make the paper rub off. So it's up to you how you guys want to handle that. But I just want to show you that you get darker values by just having more paint on your brush. And then the last thing I want to go over is how to use this little fan brush, this little guy.
I have a question.
Sure.
Have you ever like filled your butcher tray with a little bit of paper, dropped some color, a little bit of water, dropped some color in, and dipped your paper in it to
Absolutely,
make
I have.
Does that work good or no?
It doesn't make an even wash, but it does create really cool textures.
Okay.
Also, this Canson paper is not the best choice if you're trying to go for a full, lots of water, lots of paint, and because it starts to warp. So, I mean, and that, I've used like nicer papers that are 100% cotton. They also warp when I paint on them.
That's what I was gonna say. There's no like warp-proof paper.
Yeah, but there's different tricks. So what I do is I actually iron my paintings when I'm done with them.
With or without steam?
With steam.
Scary.
The YouTube tutorial I watched about it said to use steam.
I believe you. That just scares me.
It's to get it moist again. So you want to get it kind of moist. Steam, you iron the back of it. And then while it's hot and still kind of damp, you flatten it, like you sandwich it between really heavy books so it dries flat. Okay?
Pro tip.
Pro tip. Okay. So here is my fan brush. And there's a lot of space on these bristles, so I just want you to get used to it. We're going to be using mostly like a corner at a time. So I'm going to grab some like blue and mix in some of my magenta. And I just want you to practice like doing thin lines with it. Okay, so I'm kind of I got paint in the corner, I turned it on its side, and I'm just doing light pressure. And really, I just want you to like play. So like, what would it look like if I did all of them? What would it look like if I started doing this? Oh, look at those.
That brush seems intimidating to me.
Why?
I don't know. I think it stresses me out that you can't get like a fine line with it or like an even wash with it. Like it looks like fake eyelashes.
Well, the whole point of it is so you can get textures like this.
Okay.
Look how easy it is to get these kind of...
Those textures are scary to me is what I'm saying.
Oh, really? I think they're fun. But I will say that when I encounter something new like this, and it's really funny because we get these questions a lot, like, am I allowed to do this? You're allowed to do whatever you want. You're the artist. You can like decide what to use it for. But it is scary because you don't want to seem like you're using it wrong. But I'm giving you permission to like just play with it, and then whatever you find how it works for you, that's the correct way to use it, you know?
I thought they were for making paint splatters.
That's 100% true, and I based a tutorial all around Michael saying, yeah, these are for making white paint splatters. That would be the night sky tutorial, which was one of our first ones, and then come to find out that's not true.
Okay, listen, we took a watercolor class together, and I heard him out of his mouth say that.
I mean, I guess it splatters pretty good. It does a nice even splat. Okay. We need to get back on track here. So I just want you to like sit and play with this for a few minutes on your scratch paper, get more familiar with it. And then if you're ready to like start making trees, I do my trunk first, and then I do little branches, kind of poking out that get longer on the way down. And again, I'm just using the corner because of the small size of the tree. If we were doing a big tree, then I would be using it long ways, but I'm just using the corner so not to get too many bristles. And I'm just gonna kind of do like a crisscross pattern. So I'm gonna go like across and then the other way, across. And it's gonna be more concentrated over the trunk because that's where the the needles will overlap the most. And then when it gets to the edges of the trees, that's where you're gonna have like more individual marks because it's thinning out. Does that make sense?
Yep.
So just kind of play with this. Now, the one thing I want you to be careful of is sometimes when we're doing textures like this, our brain likes to make patterns. So we like to do the same marks, evenly spaced, like in a pattern. Our brain will automatically do that. So you kind of have to purposely like go in there and just like mess it up. So if you do a few dun 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 dun, then I'm gonna go in and just like do a few random ones. Because if you do this over and over across the entire thing, when the viewer looks at it, it's going to immediately pick up that pattern because our brain likes to look for patterns, and then it won't seem as realistic because usually nature is not that perfectly patterned. You know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
Okay. Isn't that a fun little tree?
That is a beautiful tree.
Like if I were to try and do that with my round 2, which you could, it would just take so long, but with this little fan brush, you really can just like get stuff done and get stuff done quick. You know what I mean? I'm just going to keep saying. You know what I mean? And just remember to go thin at the top and let it get thicker at the bottom. And there's your awesome tree. So cool. All right. Now let's paint.
Let's do it.
Okay, so like I said earlier, the Canson paper doesn't take a ton of water and a lot of paint without warping. So when I want to do like a full painting like this, where there's a background and lots of layers, is I'll just make it smaller on the paper. And that way it won't warp as much and hold the structure a little bit more on this Canson. And your reference photos are already 5x7. So what I did is I just took the 5x7 reference photo and traced the edges here because I struggle with using a ruler and making sure things are like perfectly square when I like measure, you know what I'm saying? So if I can like just trace a shape, I do much better with that. And then I'm gonna take my painter's tape and tape off the edges. Now, even when I use painter's tape sometimes, it's still, it depends. Sometimes I get like the most gorgeous clean lines. Sometimes some areas bleed a little bit, and other times it's like, it's not like a crisp edge and it's not like it bled, it's kind of in between. It's like a little bit of a fuzzy. So just so you know, if that's happening to you, it's happening to me. I don't know why. I can't get it perfect. I still haven't figured it out. Now, when you do your background wash, if you have a hard time getting dark values generally, I would suggest doing a lighter wash in the background. So then that way your trees will show up no matter what. Because if you do your wash in the background too dark, and then you try and do super dark trees, but they're not showing up because you have a really hard time making dark values, then that would be really frustrating. So if you know that you struggle with that, then just allow yourself to have a little bit more room to add paint to get a darker value than what's behind. And for the sake of this tutorial, I'm going to do a slightly lighter wash so you guys can see what I'm doing on the trees a little bit better. So there's a few different ways that you can do this wash. You can use your round 2 or round 6 like I said, which is Keenan. And just start kind of painting, spread it around using water. It's just going to take some time, and you're probably going to end up with some blooms. Or you can take your paper towel but just don't rub too much, because then you're going to start to tear your paper. If you have a sponge, I think it works a little bit better. Sometimes I'll do that and then grab my round 6 to kind of like spread out the values and color. And if you're going for more like a galaxy look, then the round 6 would probably be better to use, because you're going to start getting these blooms. And it's going to give that look of like a lot of like different planes in space, which is kind of what galaxies look like. Or if you have a wash brush, this is probably the easiest way to get a flat, even wash. And I like to do different like areas of more blue and more pink because I like color variation within my painting. So you can see I have some areas that are more blue. I'm going to drop in a little bit more pink over here, just so it's not a flat purple. But if that's what you like, this is your painting. You can absolutely do that. Okay. And then we got to wait for it to dry. Okay, so a fun little trick that actually, I think during our last live, her name's Shar, she shared it, and it's such a smart idea. So if you can tell your paper is still wet when it's glary, but then there's like an in-between part where it's still damp and not totally dry, but no longer glary. She says that if you take your wrist, and when you rest it on dry paper, it's like regular temperature. If you rest it on your painting and it's still cold, then it's still wet. Even if like no painting is coming up on your hand or it's not glary, then the paper is still wet. So wait until the temperature is even, and that's when you know that your stuff is totally dry without having to paint on it. So I thought that was a super cool tip. So thank you, Shar, for sharing that, and hopefully that helps you guys. Okay, so now we're gonna put in step 2, which is our tree trunks. You'll notice here that I have yellow, so I mixed my yellow with my magenta and my blues to get a darker value. It's gonna turn to like a muddy color. It's not gonna be like a true black. But again, if the value is dark enough against something, it's going to appear black, even if it's really like a dark brown or a dark purple. So here is my color acting as black. If you have black paint and you want to use black paint, that's totally fine. There are some artists who like don't use black paint. They like refuse to use it and like will mix their blacks.
For real?
Yeah.
Why?
It's a thing. Because usually if you use just black paint, there's no other color undertones. So it's a flat black, where if you mix your black, you have a color richness to it.
Are you one of those people?
I mean, no. I'm not, but I also give space to people who don't feel like they always want to mix their black. If that's how they want to do it, that's how they want to do it. I prefer a non-judgment approach to how anybody chooses to create. So you guys just do what's right for you. Okay, so I have my dark value. You can use your fan 4 to make your trunks, or you can use your round 2. I'm going to use my round 2, which is also Brock. That's his name. And I'm going to pick up some paint. And we're trying to get the perspective as if we're standing in the forest looking up at the night sky. So all of these trees that are around us are actually going to go in. And I know that sounds silly, but actually that's really how it looks. So, and a good way to tell that I've done with my camera before is when things are straight next to you, going straight up, when you're looking up, it actually turns in. So if you take your phone and you put your camera upside up and you put it like next to this paper towel, if you were to put your camera right next to this on your phone, the paper towel will actually start to move in and up the same angle as these trees. So it's a real thing. I just wanted to prove that. And I know that because sometimes I have to use my phone to take like video, and like I don't know, things get in the way because it's right next to each other. Okay, so I'm just gonna go around and start putting in my tree trunk. So they're all kind of angled towards the center. You'll notice that I'm doing like varying heights because I would assume that some trees are different heights, but if you want them to be all the same, it's totally your choice. And I'm just gonna move my paper around instead of trying to do the angle from the one side, because it's actually really hard to like keep that angle. The angle's correct. Okay. And this is just like a base to start. You can alter your trees, as in you can make them longer. You can't make them shorter. Okay. And now we're gonna move on to step 3. We're gonna add the leaves. Now there are some trees that I left just as trunks. So I'm gonna do those first. So these I'm gonna do with my round 2. So this one here, I'm just gonna kind of thicken it. And your paper might be a little bit wavy. That's okay. I kind of went with it. You can see here that some of my trees have a wave to it. That's true in nature too. Sometimes trees aren't perfectly straight. Sometimes they kind of have a little bit of a funkiness to them. So like, don't be mad. And then I'm going to do some branches coming out. Just make sure you thin the branches as they make their way out of the tree. That one got a little bit wavy, but that's okay. I have to thicken up this right side. Okay. And then I think I have another one, a thinner one, kind of coming up this way. All right, and now on to our fan. So just like we did in our warm-up, I'm going to dip my corner in. And I'm actually going to make, to be a little bit more true to the tutorial, I'm going to make this one longer. But just so you know, our goal isn't to make something look exactly like this reference photo, so it's okay if your trees look different than mine, or if like some are taller, some are shorter. You guys have that freedom. And I'm going to do little kind of branches coming off to remind myself that it gets thicker on the way down. And then I'm just going to do my textures. And there's a couple different ways that you can do textures. You can do just dots like this. So I'm just kind of tapping. And then as I work my way down, the dots will just get kind of thicker. Okay. Another way that you can do it is you can do kind of what we did in our warm-up, which is we did kind of more swoops. Whoa, that got thick. That's okay. If that happens to you, don't stress, because we can just make that part of the tree and just make it super thick there. So I'm just going to kind of swoop down, make sure it gets thin at the top. I'm just kind of checking my angle. Okay. And also, like, the comforting thing whenever I paint produce or flowers or trees or whatever is like, this exists somewhere. Like, think of all of the weird funky trees that you have seen, or clouds, or, you know, shaped carrots. That's why I don't stress out too much if one of my trees goes a little bit wonky, because one, I'm doing so many that you're most likely not going to focus on that tree, and also I'm sure it's a thing somewhere, so like, no big deal.
Also, who cares?
Yeah, it's just, this is just, we're just having fun here. If you want to work your way from the bottom to the top, just getting thinner, that's okay too. And this is me kind of going in along the edges to kind of mess up the pattern.
My photography teacher in college
Mm-hmm.
talked about the difference between like taking archival photos and artistic photos.
Yeah.
And he said that the only time you should be taking archival photos where they just like represent it 100% is for that purpose, when someone needs that for something. I think about that with painting too. Like a lot of people stress out that their trees don't look accurate, but you're not taking an archival
Right.
painting of it. You're making an artistic representation of it.
And like, you guys can make this world however you want too. Like, that's the point of art. I mean, that's going along with what you're saying, is like, for me, that's why I don't spend a lot of time doing super realistic paintings, because when it takes so long, and I'm an impatient person. And also it's because like, I like the funky looseness too. I do want to point out one thing. You know how I talked about your brain likes to make patterns? That's exactly what I did with the spacing of my trees. Look at my trees.
Yep.
Look how they're spaced. That is too evenly spaced. So I got to go in there and be like, all right, this is going to stress me out, but like, I got to mess this up and do other trees in here, so it's not so the same. And that is hard to do, but you just have to remember, it's just a piece of paper. That's all it is. The worst thing that can happen is that it goes in the trash. So, and there are a bunch of different types of trees too. So you can have some that are like really bushy and wide. You can have some that are more narrow and stay thin. Like, all of those trees are real shapes in real life. So play with it, do different ones. I think I have one up here, this guy, where it's kind of like poofy more on the top, like maybe more like a leaf tree instead of a needle tree. It just kind of has these like poofs. So you can see here, I'm really just making a bunch of different marks with the corner of my fan brush. There's not a ton of rhyme or reason to it. And honestly, the more I overthink something, then like the funkier it turns out. So you gotta just, you kind of have to come at it like, I don't care about you, your little painting. I'm just gonna do weird marks. It helps me.
Play hard to get.
Play hard to get with this painting. You just got to make sure that, like if you do this dot texture, you can't do the dots evenly spaced. You got to do them.
Close your eyes.
Yeah, because your brain is going to do it without you realizing it. Like, you purposely have to go in there and be like, not today, brain. I'm not listening to you today, and like mess it up. And if you guys want to do more like just the trunks without the leaves on it, and you just like the look of that more, do that. It's a cool look. I'm not gonna lie, these branches here that you put, I've seen other artists like do them. It doesn't like help me a ton. I don't know if I'm doing it wrong, but like if you don't put branches there, you don't have to do it.
It's so funny. One of the last paintings when we still did lives with guests,
Yeah.
the last one I was on, it had trees on it. And you did the little structure foundations like that. And I thought it messed me up too.
Yeah, like I think it's to remind people that the branches, like the direction of the branch, and to like put branches in there, like to do like the basic structure of the tree. And maybe it actually works better on a different type of tree, but like these, you don't have to put them in there if they kind of mess you up. I like how that turned out. I kind of really like how this guy turned out. This weird floofy guy. I'm gonna do another one of those.
It's like a giant cedar.
Yeah.
Sequoia.
so. The difference is with these floofy ones is it kind of has like more rounder edges, as if like clumps of leaves instead of the triangle needle shape. Could these trees exist next to each other, Michael?
Yeah.
Okay.
Looks like a Sierra Nevada nighttime sky.
Okay, cool. Michael studied biology in school, so he knows about plants.
I pretend to know about it.
Wouldn't it be funny if this entire time you were just like totally making up everything that you said? I do it all the time, so it's fine. Okay, this one got nice, big, and bushy, but I kind of like it. Now I'm going to turn my paper because when you're painting an angle upside down from the front ways, it's going to look right. Like you think it's going to look right, but then when you turn it upside down, it's going to look wonky. So it's just better to kind of like turn it as you go.
We talk about how weird it is to look at yourself in a mirror, because that's the you that you know. And then when you see yourself in pictures, you're like, my face looks different.
That is weird.
I thought I had this nailed, but it turns out I don't.
I'm going to do another just like branchy tree. A little tip with that too, if you guys are painting portraits or people and you want to know if it like looks even, actually if you're painting anything with structure and you want to make sure that your proportions are correct and nothing's off, is turn your painting upside down and look at it from upside down. It will then become apparent if like it looks funky. I don't know how to explain it any more than that, but little tip. If it looks good from upside down, then you're good. You're good to go. There's like a thin, skinnier one. I'm gonna do a little bushy guy in here to mess up my patterning that I accidentally did.
You could turn this into a Halloween painting real quick if you substituted one of the trees with like a scary outline of a guy. Like Slender Man.
Like what?
Slender Man.
I don't know what that is.
It's like an internet horror story that circulated when we were in high school era.
Oh yeah?
Yeah.
I'm gonna do some longer ones in here. There we go. And yes, I got a little from my other things, but it's fine because I'm gonna make this like big and bushy anyway, so I'm just gonna cover that up. If I didn't cover it up, I still would be okay with it because like, I don't know, I feel like we're so critical of our own stuff, of things that people for real don't even notice. Like it's not like, if I left that and you could still see it, it's not like somebody would look at that and be like, why is there that extra line there?
I mean, I would.
Your father would. Michael's dad is actually a really talented artist. He doesn't do a lot of it. He's a contractor, but he's very talented. Makes me sad he doesn't do it more.
You have the power.
What?
You have the power to get him to art more.
I don't know
Just
if I
gotta pressure him.
Really?
I don't know. Try it.
That man works like 16 hours a day.
Yeah, tell him to stop being a pansy and, you know, draw a little.
Yeah. You can also angle your brush to try and do more of it at one time. You see? Look at that. Look at this guy. But then you have to go back in and make the bottom thicker. But still, it's kind of cool. Okay, this tree got a little bit crooked, so I'm going to try and straighten it. There we go. And actually, I think I'm going to make, the thicknesses on these trees are very similar, so I'm going to purposely make one thick. Thicken this guy up. There we go, that feels better. Okay, almost done.
I like the liney texture of the sky. I like the oscillation. I don't know.
What is oscillation?
What?
What's oscillation?
Look at my hands.
Yeah. Oh, is it like just
waves,
up
like
and
a
down?
sine wave, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Oscillating is like repeating wave. I don't know. I don't know what the official. Don't put me on the spot.
No, somebody sent us a thesaurus
Dictionary.
and a dictionary for this exact thing.
Here we
Thank you.
go. What did I say? Oscillating.
I feel like me and Keenan have looked up this exact word on a previous tutorial, but maybe I'm wrong.
Pale is highlighted in here. He's like, what's the best word to describe Sarah?
Pale.
Pale.
You're not wrong. My nickname in high school for soccer was White Lightning because I was fast and really white. Okay.
Oscillate. To swing back and forward like a pendulum. To move or travel back and forth between 2 points.
To swing back and forth like a pendulum. Would that count then?
Yeah. So, when you're thinking about graphing a sine, this is all math stuff.
Okay.
Turn this way.
Uh-huh.
And it goes this way.
Just
So you
turn
track
it
the
on the
pendulum.
axis.
Yeah. There you go.
Look at that, math. Is that math?
Sure.
Sure, graphs. We're gonna move on. I'm done. I'm done with my trees. They look awesome.
They look super good.
Okay, now we're gonna do step 4, which is remove the tape. And I made this a step because sometimes removing tape can be tricky. So what I do is I slowly peel, and I start on the side that's closest to the painting, and I peel away. And the reason why I do that is because if I were to peel this way, and if it were to tear, it would tear right into my painting. This way, since I'm peeling away from my painting, if it does tear, it at least will not tear in the part where there is paint.
That's very smart. That sounds like someone who's torn into their paint a lot.
So many times.
That's frustrating. You do the whole painting. You go to take the tape off.
So here I had a pretty clean edge. There were a couple little fuzzy edges, not too bad. This one I got a slight bleed.
Okay, I'm not recommending this to anyone. I'm just thinking out loud. If you ran a razor blade really lightly along the inside of that tape and just kind of cut the fibers of the painting away from the tape, you'd probably get a clean line every time.
That's a good idea.
I am not responsible
For any
ruined paintings.
cut paintings. This one bled a lot more.
And is there any way to not have that happen? I don't remember.
I said I don't know what the secret is.
Maybe like run your fingernail over the tape really hard
I've
before?
tried that too, but
Doesn't
try that. Like make sure it's totally empty. I wonder, oh, see here, this tore a little bit at the corner, so I'm just gonna carefully pull that away. It's such a bummer when that happens.
What is the name of that pen that you use that makes watercolor not go on it?
Oh, the masking marker.
Masking marker. What if you, before you're
drawing
painting, like taped the inside and then masking painted the whole outside, pull the tape off and then painted, and it would just stay in it?
That would 100% work. That's a lot of steps for me though, so I probably won't ever do that.
Okay, last idea.
Okay.
Don't tape it. At the end, use that big chopper, like the straight line cutter,
Yes.
and just cut it out and then paste it on another clean white piece of paper.
I will say though that I have absolutely used my chopper to kind of cut off some ends that I did not want seen. Or I just edited them out, which is why I like to scan my paintings and do editing software, because then if there's a slight mistake, it's not the end of the world. And also then it lasts forever because these are dye-based paints. So there's our tree, our purple sky.
It's beautiful.
It's beautiful. Can't wait to see how you guys do. Have fun with this, explore this. You can even look up like different tree silhouettes. You can play with your fan brush. Just have fun with it. I feel like the whole part of like creating and playing with stuff is just to try new things. And maybe you try this little brush and you're like, you know what, this little brush is not for me. That's okay too. You don't have to be great at all of the things. I'm not. So I just want to give you.
She is.
I just want to give you opportunities to try new things, to see maybe it's something that you enjoy. If you need any of these supplies, you can find them at letsmakeart.com. If you painted this, we would love to see it. You can share it on Instagram, #letsmakeart, or tag us at Let's Go Make Art. I'm sorry that those are two different names. It is what it is. Somebody already had the Let's Make Art Instagram
If you have
name.
Let's Make Art, let's make a deal.
And you click on it and it just says holding account. And I'm like,
What?
yeah. And I'm like, give it to us. We want that Instagram name. Anyways, we also have a Facebook group called Let's Make Art Watercolor. It's a big group, lots of different ranges and skill level there, but it's very supportive, very kind, very wonderful place to see how other people are doing this project and to post your own. That's called Let's Make Art Watercolor. Michael, you're a doll.
You're a doll.
Our son is at home with our mother-in-law, so sorry you didn't get to see Arlo today. And that's it. You guys are awesome. I'll see you next week. Bye.
Bye.